So, of course, apart from Major Walia, who is central to this book, you've also brought out many other characters that are also as integral to the storyline, which we don't often see in books. So, what was your thought process, and what did you intend to do by bringing out these characters as well?
See, when you write a story on a battle hero, he's not alone in the situation. He's not gone through the entire military part of his life alone. There are people who worked with him, there are people who've been subordinate to him, who shaped him to become what he is. Because there is peer-to-peer motivation and inspiration.
Absolutely.
There is subordinate peer motivation and inspiration. And you also get inspired by your subordinates as much as you would get inspired from an influencer who's probably way above you. And it's not necessarily that you get inspired, especially in situations like this where you get inspired with people who are way above you. It's more often the case where you are probably inspired by a colleague or someone junior to you.
Yeah.
I, as a young officer, have been inspired by old JCOs who taught me. Even in Sudhir's case, there were people like Honorary Captain Mahindra Kirti Chakra, Sena Medal, who today is consigned to a wheelchair, who was a very inspiring character in his own right. He spent many years together.
Yeah.
There was Captain Arun Jasrotia, again Ashok Chakra,
Yes.
who was a colleague of Sudhir Walia. There was Subedar Major Honorary Captain Mukhtiar, Major Vinod, who was a Naik in those days, who was a close colleague to Sudhir Walia. So all of them have rubbed off on him. And he, of course, has rubbed off on all of them. And I thought that all of them deserve merit, and all of them deserve recognition, and all of them need to be fleshed out into characters, and their stories need to be brought out. There was Kheem Singh, his buddy who died in the last fight, who got a Sena Medal. I thought they were integral to the story. I thought it was imperative, and I thought that a story in isolation only about Sudhir Walia becomes very, very boring and doesn't justify the narrative at all.
Yes.
The narrative will only get justified when it is given a complete 360-degree arc.
It adds to the authenticity of the book as well, of the narrative that you put in across. Very interesting. Who do you hope picks up this book? Who do you hope picks up Rambo?
Like I have written in the introductory para, if this book makes one boy stand up and become another Sudhir Walia, then a story will find redemption. So I want that to happen. I want the young generation to read about his story, his colleagues to read about the story, because a lot of them might know Sudhir, but they might not know him in so much of detail. It's like an elephant, co-mates and friends and colleagues. You're like blind men around an elephant.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't know him, and I want them to read the story. So it's people in uniform, it's people out of uniform, it's people who don't know anything about the services in the army. I want them to read it. I want this book to be inspirational. I want this book to kind of evoke the conscience of people who are reading it. People to see the services in the light and in the honor that they deserve to be seen.
Wonderful. I think you summed it up very beautifully. But I also have one last question that I really need to know about. Why was he called Rambo? Why is he known as Rambo?
So Sudhir Walia was a daredevil. Sudhir Walia, like they said, was a man who would go into areas where no man would dare to go. And he was a maverick. He was a swashbuckling hero. He didn't understand the word fear.
Wow.
And that's come out amply in the book in a lot of places. He would charge in blindly, but it wasn't stupidly, interestingly, because while he was charging in, or while he was rushing into a situation, his mind was calculating the risks, and his mind was always kind of weighing the options. So he knew what he was doing. It was not a stupid charge. It was not really a blind charge. It was a calculated risk, and he knew what he was getting in. So I think for all of this, he was called Rambo, not just by his subordinate, but also by his colleagues and people who knew him, and people who knew what he was doing. So I think the name aptly applies to him more than it applies to the cinematic Rambo.
True. Very true. That's what I was coming to, but yes, you got that right. That's absolutely accurate. And can we expect the next one soon? Another one in the works or not?
Inshallah, we shall.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So, sir, I genuinely enjoyed reading the book, I have to say it, and I feel it's something that, just like you said, it's for those in uniform, it's those not in uniform, it's for those who have no idea what the military life is, but I think these are stories that must be heard, must be read, in whatever form, at whatever pace, but I think it is a genuine gap that we need to fulfill. So thank you for your time, and wish you all the success with Rambo, and I really hope it reaches the readers that you hope it reaches to.
Thank you so much,
so
man.
much.
Wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.